Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's take. Today, we're talking about, and I love the fact that they're able to put a press release saying remarkable in the headlines, especially when talking about a junior mining discovery. Pretty incredible coming out of the gold digger property for Goliath Resources. The stock has surged in the last 2 days, up 49 cents. That's $1.49 today, off of incredible results. And this has been a strong conviction company that I've been following for 6 or 7 years, and we've loved it growing. But who am I? I've been lucky with some stuff. We're lucky that we get to speak to someone who's not lucky, but who understands these systems, and who's an expert and who's had lots of success. So we're really pleased to be joined by, again, Dr. Quinton Hennigh.
Well, look, it is an exciting story. We've been involved in this since I think late 2020. I think we first came in, or I first heard the story, I should say, after they did quite a bit of field work in this really unique location. This is way up on the side of a pretty tall glacial mountain. It used to be capped by snow. There was cover over this ice, and it was only recently the snow melted, and guess what? It exposed these beautiful veins like the Sherbet. They did a lot of channel sampling, very early time period, and they got some really nice thicknesses, but also really nice grades. Like gold was typically 10, 15 gram gold equivalent over, a few meters, like 6 to 10 meters, something like that. Really caught my attention, particularly with the continuity and the geometry of the thing, with all of the veins being effectively above the valley bottom. It just looked like a compelling case, and it's played out well. It's now they're starting to find the high grade.
So maybe we'll kind of work our way in reverse to some extent, because I think people want to know about these results because they're so high. I mean, the two coming out here, great widths, great numbers. What was your take when you saw that as a standalone? And then maybe we'll kind of consider it with the context of what of the totality of what's growing there.
Okay. Everybody knows that I like to use food as an analogy for ore bodies. Okay. So basically, if I had to pull an analog out of thin air to describe the way one should think of the Sherbet system on the Gold Digger project, and actually this can be applied to a number of the gold systems through that southern part of the Golden Triangle in BC. Think of it like baklava. Okay, everybody loves baklava, right? You got layers of phyllo paper, but in every once in a while you get a layer where there's the goodies, a bit of honey and walnuts and stuff. The gold in this case, that's where it occurs. It's in those pretty well defined discrete horizons that occur within an otherwise very thick section of baklava. So basically you have relatively flat lodes. These are quartz lodes that have gold sulfides. They even have other metals. I mean, there's a bit of silver, there's a bit of zinc and lead and stuff. But these flat veins are where the goodies are at. Now, then it becomes a question, how did the gold get there? Well, I think we're starting to see that picture develop. I think we're starting to see the company hone in on the high grade, but also likely we'll call it driver for the system. There's likely an intrusion at depth that was gold rich, appears to be likely reduced intrusive system. Those people that want to go into depth, these are the kind of intrusions that carry a lot of gold. They can deliver a lot of goodies. Anyway, the fluids came off from that, and then they went and found these flat layers. So it shot into those flat layers, and guess what? They're now finding that the highest grade ones are basically the lower ones, like the Bonanza zone that they've announced these most recent results from. They see a lot of visible gold here, and that's not really a big surprise, because if you look, way back to the first season I think they drilled was 2021, and they did metallurgical work shortly after that because they did see a lot of visible gold in holes, and the test work clearly shows that much of the gold in this mineralization comes out through gravity recovery. Okay, the only way it does that is if you got a lot of visible gold. And it seems to be the theme that keeps presenting itself here. Like every time they drill a hole, basically they see intervals with visible gold. So not a big surprise.
Yeah, that was one of the great things too, if I remember, that they were doing the metallurgical work alongside to show people, like, listen, I thought that was a nice approach, because we're saying we're getting great grades. And we're also going to do this at the same time, so it isn't one of these situations where we might find something, we've got a great discovery, and we find it's not metallurgical. So they kind of, at the start, were saying, let's do both these things in conjunction to show you that this can become something.
Okay, so I saw their drill results. They did really good science. They did some petrography, which means they took the rock and then took a thin slice, put it on a glass plate, and they could look at it under the microscope. And it was clear that there was a lot of particulate gold. Okay, so I said, guys, you really should do gravity and flotation tests here. Some of the gold was associated with sulfides like sphalerite, which is zinc, and galena, which is lead. And I said, if you can show that gravity and flotation basically capture all your metal or most of your metal, then this project is going to be very easy to advance. And it will also demonstrate, by the way, to potential suitor companies, like big companies, that they're doing the good science. I really push metallurgy as an early stage test of any gold deposit. Okay? Especially, you got to know you can get the gold out. They did that. They took my advice. They did a round of metallurgy, I think, in late 21 and early 22, and then they did another one in late 22 and early 23. And both rounds of testing, just hands down, demonstrated absolutely fantastic recoveries, probably 50% or more in gravity gold. So in other words, talk about cheap processing, the gold literally just comes out in the gravity circuit. And then the other fraction of the gold is recovered in flotation concentrates. Well, what does that mean? Okay, if you recover a substantial amount of gold into, say, a zinc lead concentrate, okay, that means you could potentially, that there's a lot more work that has to be done here, but you could potentially just ship that material to a smelter and they do all the processing from there. Okay, that means that you could largely escape the need to do, say, cyanide treatment or whatever on site. And that can make permitting way easier. It could be a lot less headache, a lot less capital intensive, and things like that. So I think the results, the metallurgical results to date, speak volumes about the very high quality of this deposit. And now we've got drill holes which are literally, testing and seeing these discrete zones. So it's not just the Sherbet anymore. We got the Golden Gate and the Bonanza, and there's other lodes that are tucked and hiding in there and here and there. It's a really robust gold system. It's demonstrating the same qualities everywhere. Visible gold, a bit of sulfide, should be great metallurgical material, et cetera, et cetera. Like, it's just a wonderful story.
Someone said it somewhat kind of reminds them of the Pogo Mine a little bit. Yeah. It's a bit of an analogy to that one. And I love having that someone could go, oh, okay, if this looks like something else that's currently in production, let me go look at that and make a little bit of make the analogy true. Let's compare it.
Pogo is currently operated by Northern Star, and people can look up information about it. I think there's more available today than in the past when it was first discovered. Okay, so the history of Pogo is that Sumitomo Metal Mining and Teck were in a joint venture to explore. They were actually exploring for base metal. But they found this amazing gold deposit in Alaska. It's not all that far from Fairbanks. It's a bit east of Fairbanks. Anyway, they discovered this. They did Blake sampling, which identified gold anomalism in the streams, and then they started doing geologic, mapping and stuff that really showed these quartz veins, these quartz lodes, much like we see at Sherbet. Okay, much like we see at Sherbet. In outcrop. And that was the case at Pogo. There were some just beautiful high-grade shoots. I think their average head grade over the first 20-odd years was probably 15 grams or so.
Oh, holy cow.
Yeah, it was a fantastic, and it's been a fantastic one. I think they produced 300,000 ounces, plus or minus, gold per year.
Yes.
Out of just an extraordinary high grade. Well, this system it's almost a replicate. Like, you can look at the quartz vein textures and sulfides and stuff at Sherbet, and then you look at photos of Pogo, and yep, they're the same type of deposit. Absolutely.
I remember speaking with Roger years ago and noticing that the quality of which, like, camp, the way they work, the way everything's set up is with a major in mind. Like, they want to set up everything right from day one, that we'll do things slowly, methodically, properly at a level a Newmont would expect. Like that they could just walk in, turnkey, and feel comfortable. And that's also something early stage doesn't really mean that much. I mean, it's nice that they're doing that, but when you're at this stage, things are really developing and things are great. Not only is it awesome that you go, well, metallurgy is taken care of. That's awesome. That's phew. But also too, we've done things to a quality that is what a major would expect.
I've been to camp. I was there in July of 2023, so not in 2024 was the previous year. It was right in the middle of their very aggressive drill season that year, and I got to see the setup. You know, it's right there, Kitsault, and it's the end of a fjord. So basically, you have a town that was built. Believe it or not, it was built because there's a molybdenum deposit not far away. Okay, it's just up the hill. And this was going back, I think, to the late 70s, early 80s. It was built and the mine was put into operation. Then the moly price just cratered and the whole thing went pear-shaped. Okay, but that town, all the buildings, the houses and the what do you call them, like condominiums or whatever, you know, are still in pretty good nick. They've been upkept for many years. It's very strange to be there because it's almost like a ghost town, but it's well-preserved ghost town. And they have a really good facility there. They got a laydown yard, extraordinary laydown yard, you know, where they can put all the core and they can log and stuff. So that's great. They have a helicopter landing zone that was basically, I think, the school football field or not football, baseball field. And they got other things. They got plenty of rooms, you know, for geologists and stuff. So it's a delightful area to work. Yes, a big company would probably find that attractive because it's the easier it is to work and get your job done, the more efficient you can move a project forward, more efficiently you can move it forward. So I'm sure that's got you know, a big advantage.
And let's touch on because it's I mean, with the great news as well, it's easy to overlook, and it's early stage, the Treasure Island, because they had hit some great grab samples and whatnot, channel cuts from there. Like 2023, I'm hesitant to say this, but wasn't there a channel cut with like copper grades of 14% or 13% that came out of there? Yeah, okay. Which I'm always a little nervous to major like numbers like that, where you're like, whoa, should I say this? But yeah, so let's tell me what we're because this is another kind of, you know, a la carte bonus.
From what I've seen from the core photos, you know, like the holes they drilled this year, and from the rock samples, they did some channels and stuff. Looks to me like a VMS type system. Okay, it's different. It's a different type. And VMS deposits are pretty well known across the Golden Triangle. I mean, SK Creek was a VMS deposit. Okay, there's other ones, but you know, SK is, you know, obviously the big boy in the world. There's a little project called I think it's Red Canyon or Red something. Anyway, it belongs. I think it's a joint venture between Decade and Mountain Boy, or I can't remember their names now. But the two little companies have this thing. It was drilled a few years ago, like 10 years ago or something, and the numbers are fantastic from that. And I looked at that pretty hard a while back. It looks to me like a VMS, and to me, that is an analog for what they're seeing at Treasure Mountain.
I imagine we're going to have a bunch of holes. There's going to be lots of news flow coming into PDAC. I assume what's going to happen now is we've got a bunch of more holes that will come through. So more data. There'll be all these conversations. There's going to be a flurry. Once that's all in, I assume you'll kind of get together with them as well, and you'll look to see where are you going to start looking at new holes, and where are you going to start to grow out, and where things are going to build. So there's going to be a lot going on the next little while.
You know, like I said earlier, to drill Bonanza here, yeah, they're going to have to do some step outs to make sure they know how big this thing might be. It could be a lot bigger, but I would say 50 to 100 meter spacing is kind of the ideal target. Yep. If they can get to 100 meter spacing and they can start to delineate the chutes, you know, better, I think that will go a long way to helping them get to a resource stage and stuff like that.
Excellent. Well, listen, this is exciting. This is very exciting. I mean, it's so great whenever you've got all the pluses. And I like to remind people too that because we've got a lot of newer people that are subscribers to the channel and whatnot, and they go, well, I don't understand. We always hear that all the good stuff's being picked apart and found already. And I have to remind them that this is glacial recession. So this is hidden under a glacier for a long period of time. So it is rare that you get this situation where you get to find like a full green story. But this is a greenfield project that is rare and amazing.
And I think there will be more too. I mean, look at Treasure Island. Maybe that's going to turn into a big discovery on its own right. I don't know. But this one is a whopper. This is a great story, and I love it. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thanks so much, Dr. Hennigh. I really appreciate you spending all the time with us. And we'll chat with you soon. I'm sure you're going to be busy over the next couple of months here for sure.
Thank you.
All right. Take care. And take care, everyone. We'll talk to you real soon.